So here we are today with Martin and Robert, who are going to give us an update. Not really. We've got Frankie and Grace.
Hello. We thought we'd have a bit of a change up.
Thank you for coming to catch up. It's been a roller coaster of a day. Again, all the days have been a roller coaster, but today was our Save Weekly Hall Woods shining moment. I think we had a lot to say today, didn't we?
In a jam-packed morning session. First off, we had lovely Laura making a fantastic representation and speech, quoting wonderful people from David Attenborough, Chris Packham,
Greta Thunberg,
mentioning the CBeebies. She was absolutely fabulous, and we can't thank her enough for her phenomenal statement, because I think it really brings home again to the inspector how important and how loved our wood and meadow are, and how lots of people from Kettering don't want to work in warehouses.
Surprise, surprise. We had some more of that from Mr. Hollowbone, our
MP.
He spoke very technically about the joint core strategy, the plan that's been devised by the council for development in the area. And what he basically said is how, unsurprisingly, the council have come up with a plan that doesn't condemn us all to a life living and working in the shadow of warehouses, but how actually we'd like some different kinds of development and some different opportunities for ourselves and our young people. And he spoke really well on all of that.
It was
really helpful.
It was fantastic, actually, to get somebody who has been there at the very foundation and formation of the joint core strategy. So it's really good to have his input, and nice for him to come and join us.
Yeah.
And then it was me.
Would you like me to talk about you? You can talk about you if you like.
No, I was absolutely fabulous. No.
You were a ray of sunshine in quite a grey room. You spoke a lot about the importance of the area to local people, its uniqueness, what it's brought you personally in terms of somewhere to let your dogs off the lead and get some fresh air and some tranquility. And as much as that's personal to you, I think that's the story of loads of us. And you also got away with complimenting the inspector's shoes, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But what I thought was also really important, able to get across something very personal to you, which is all about the forest school and all the little kiddlywinks who run round there and make dens and get covered in mud, and it's fabulous. It's all good for their immune systems.
The stuff that really matters.
That was lovely. Next up, the wonderful Mr. Chris Shaw, who is a very local resident to the site. He lives on one of the cottages just by the south side of the meadow, and he was an excellent witness. I know he said he had I've got a very monotone voice. Actually, his delivery was pitch perfect. He didn't need to worry at all. He was so measured, and obviously this is something that really affects him because he lives next door to it. Yeah. And his statement put forth, it was very balanced. I mean, if I was in his position, I'd be hopping mad. Definitely. But he was very, very nuanced. He was very balanced, really put across lots of detailed work on what the meadow is, how there could be mitigation strategies. He was just an excellent, really, really good witness. Really glad to have him along.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who was up next?
Then we had Des Dell.
The man with the camera.
I don't know how to work your camera, Des. But Des spoke a lot about the history of the campaign, how the campaign started, how it's run away, and we've ended up with, 24,133 signatures, which we saw being written down. And basically the family fun days, the wonderful artists and musicians that have supported events, giving up their own time to help us with that. It was very inspiring. Both Frankie and Des got asked by the inspector, how can I reconcile the fact that the land has been allocated with all the representations from local people saying how valuable and important the land is to them, which I think is a good thing. It's quite a hard question. It is a hard question
to be asked off the cuff. So that was, but it's good that he's asking. And next up we had the wonderful Martin Crooks, who was our witness giving evidence on the landscape, and he was brilliant. He was absolutely. He was really in depth. Knew our plan. The plan that's been submitted inside and out. Really challenged on points. You know, I was really impressed with what he had to say. Also wore a lovely tie. Which shouldn't. Well, let's hope it helps. Let's hope it helps the outcome.
He spoke fantastically, and when he was speaking, I could just hear what he was saying was, you know, it had a legal basis. Everything referred back to the policies. It felt like the real kind of like grown-up stuff that the inspector needs to hear. Yeah. He got an absolute grilling from the other side, which is always good if they feel the need to give a grilling, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so that was. I almost said that was today in Parliament. No, it wasn't. That was today at the planning.
It was much more civilised than Parliament.
Exactly. We didn't go boo because we're not allowed to cheer. No, this isn't a music hall. But fabulous day. There's more to come. Tomorrow is Wednesday. And that's when in the evening session we're having all of you wonderful people come down and state your pieces, and we've already had lots of people pre-register.
30 speakers registered now
already
for a 2.5 hour session.
So I think it's going to be marvellous. If you don't want to speak, do come along. Bodies are just as important, and obviously live ones preferably. I don't know. I've lost the plot slightly. I need the lunch.
But if you, as Frankie said, if you don't want to speak, there's a public gallery that we can all sit in. It's amazing to watch. It's quite emotional to watch all the speakers. But if you have been behind the campaign and you really want to, you know, feel like you're at the heart of it, and you can give up some time tomorrow evening to come along, do.
We'll see you there. Fantastic. And so it's good afternoon from me.
And it's good afternoon from me.